flip a guy over your shoulder that was about maybe 6'1".
Wasn't that a terrific scene?
Yes, sir. I mean, that's quite a, don't call me tiny.
That was the line. Again, a little backstory. When the script came, and I was reading the script, and I came to that scene, and there's that scene where that guy, the big guy, calls me tiny. I made a mark, a little note to myself on the side of the script. And then the next day I got on the phone with Art Bennett, and I said to him, you know, you're going to have to rewrite this scene completely, because Sulu isn't tiny. In fact, the fans see Sulu as a big guy, and we mustn't offend the fans. Sulu is not tiny. He says, George, that is a funny, hilarious scene. How can you say that? I mean, you know, you're really going to regret you wouldn't want me to change it. I said, no, I insist, because we mustn't disappoint the fans. Sulu is bigger than life. You've got to cut that reference to Sulu. But he said, you know, the guy's big. He's a giant. He's overgrown, you know. And so from his vantage point, you do look tiny. But no, I said, that is the wrong image to paint of Sulu. And I went back and forth, back and forth. And then on the set, too, we had the same discussion going. And finally he said, all right, we'll do it two ways. We'll do it without that reference, and we'll do it with that reference. And see which plays better. And I said, well, all right. And I said, how big is this guy I'm going to be throwing? And how are we going to do that? And he said, well, we're getting a good guy. And sure enough, when the day to film that scene came, he presented himself. He was a huge Goliath. I mean, he was like about 6'6", I think. And I did feel tiny in front of him. But they assured me he's a good stuntman. And I said, well, yeah, but I'm a good athlete too. I'll you know. And Leonard was directing that. And he said, well, let's rehearse this a couple of times and to make sure, you know, we hit our marks. And so we played the scene, and the point came for me to throw him. And I threw him. And I threw him short of the mark. You know, I thought, well, I said to Leonard, I was kind of pulling back, you know, because I didn't want to hurt him. And Leonard said, well, no, we need you to throw him to this point, you know, hit the mark. And I said, well, all right, let's, well, why don't we shoot it? We'll do it on the tape, and I'll hit that mark. And Leonard said, all right, action. And he approached me, we exchanged the lines, and then I grabbed him and threw him, and I put everything in it. And I went past that mark. The scene was no good. And I said, I'm sorry, Leonard. You know, my strength, I don't know my own strength. Actually, it was a very good, he was a very good stuntman. And he could have controlled it. But he wasn't, he was kind of, you know, overdoing it for my ego. And then it's, all right, now let's do it again. You're not take 1 Takei, you're take 2 Takei. And so we had our take 2, and he landed right on the mark. And it turned out he knew what he was doing all the time. The stuntman was a great stuntman. He was in control, and he was just playing with me.
So my second question to you is, how did it feel to become Captain Sulu in Star Trek VI?
Glorious. I worked hard on that one. I lobbied and lobbied and lobbied, and finally it happened. But that movie, I think, is mis-subtitled. It's Star Trek VI, The Undiscovered Country. But if you really see the movie, you know, how does it begin? It begins on this huge, vast ship, the Excelsior. And then we see the bridge of the Excelsior. And the camera comes down onto the power seat there, the captain's chair, his throne. And it's a new captain. Captain Sulu there, confidently sipping at his cup of green tea. And then practice explodes and the pounding drum begins. At the crucial point in the middle of the drum, Captain Kirk, that aging captain, is in danger. He's about to be blown away by the Klingons. He's cornered. But who should come out of the darkened galaxy sky but Captain Sulu and the Excelsior? And he says, "Target that explosion and fire." And he fires and blasts that Klingon ship, thus saving the day for and the life of Captain Sulu. Captain Kirk. And then the ending, you know, beginning, middle, and the classic ending of all Star Trek movies, or all Star Trek episodes, on the bridge of the Enterprise. And there's that view screen. And this time the captain, turns on the view screen and looks up and gets up. Because there on the view screen is that giant image of Captain Sulu. And he gets up and essentially says, "Thank you for saving my ass." And Captain Sulu looks down and smiles and says, "Good to see you in action. One more time, Captain." And then he says, "Farewell," and then he roars off. And McCoy is looking and he says, "By God, that's a big ship." But Scotty, with a twinkle in his eye, says, "Aye, but not so big as that a captain, I think. That is a Captain Sulu movie." That should be subtitled, "Captain Sulu to the Rescue."
My question is actually simple. I just wanted to know if Star Trek, the animated series, was your first chance at a voiceover, and what was your experience like in this animated series?
Again, with that, too, there's a little backstory. When they licensed, I think it was called Filmation, to do the animated Star Trek series, they hired Bill, Leonard, DeForest, and Jimmy Doohan, and Major to do the voices. But they said they had a budgetary constraint and they couldn't hire an entire cast. Well, when Leonard Nimoy found out about that, he said, "Well, in that case, you don't need me." He said, because the whole idea of Star Trek was to show diversity working together. We're in the 24th century, and it's a diversity of the planet Earth. The idea was that the Enterprise was a metaphor for planet Starship Earth, and it was the diversity of Starship Earth coming together and working as a team. And by leaving out Nichelle Nichols and George Takei, you don't have that idea. And so you don't have Spock there either. I'm not going to do it. It was a very bold and principled position that Leonard took. And because they needed Leonard very much in order to make the animated series work, they caved in and they hired Nichelle and me to do our characters' voices. So Leonard is an extraordinary guy. I have great admiration and respect. He's a very principled guy, and he's got the guts to back up his principles. And both Nichelle and I owe a great deal to him for keeping us intact in the animated version.